friends. Good to see you again. This is another installment of Tarot Tuesday from Six Silver Seals. Today is July 14th, 2020, and the aspect for today is the Sun in Cancer, which are represented by the Sun and the Chariot respectively, square retrograde Jupiter in Capricorn, which is the Wheel of Fortune and the Devil, both reversed. Now, with this, at first blush, it is a little tempting to say that we are in the straits of something very, very dire is a strong word, but it feels like a run of bad luck or a run of being stuck. And really, these do sort of indicate that, but with the Sun and the Chariot on the other side, what we're looking at here is we are, yes, sort of in a period where we feel stuck in a rut, stuck in our old ways, stuck in our old habits, stuck in it just doesn't feel like anything is going anywhere. And all of that feeling is starting to lift. Thankfully, Mercury retrograde is finally over. I can't speak for y'all's experience to it, but for me, it was probably the longest Mercury retrograde I can personally remember. That was an endless 3 weeks. However, point being, we're moving past it. We're getting through it. We are finding ways to get out of the box that we were stuck in. And with the Devil being there, probably a box that we helped to put ourselves in. We're able to start growing, start changing, start moving past limitations. And with the Wheel of Fortune and the Devil together, it is both those limitations that were imposed on us as well as the ones we impose on ourselves. Now, the caveat here is that it is the Sun and the Chariot together. So it is going to involve, A, getting off to a really quick start, as well as kind of having to adjust on the fly. This is not going to be a kind of thing where getting out of the rut is one and done. We are going to have to, very carefully steer at a pretty rapid speed to avoid falling back into those traces, those tracks, and getting stuck there again. It does seem as though the energy bends towards success rather than failure. At this point, the end of Cancer season is already just a week away, and we will be seeing the Sun in Leo take over, moving from the Chariot to Strength. And so we are being kind of, if we ride the energetic waves that comes through, we move towards rather than away from success and growth and change and strength. But that doesn't mean that it's just going to come to us. Remember, as I say often, astrology is participatory. If you want to get anything out of it, you have to put effort into it. With that in mind, let's see how I can help you with that. As always, we will start with the Sun's current position, so Cancer is first. And we have the Moon. And I like this card for Cancer. For one, the Moon, not the card the Moon, but the actual astrological object, rules Cancer. So to see this here is kind of nice, because it does indicate that we're in a little bit of Cancer's power here. We're in a place, for you, this is the thing that's your strong suit, to shore things up, so to speak. Having said that, I also get the sense that, specifically the phases of the Moon are relevant here, and because your season is coming so soon to an end, Cancer Suns, you are a little bit on the wane here. So kind of bear that in mind. This is the strongest you're going, as you take this up, is the strongest you're going to be when you deal with it. So you're really going to want to lean into that chariot energy of moving quickly, because the faster you get out of the traces, the less strength you'll have to exert in order to do so. For Leo, we have the Nine of Pentacles. And this is actually a really beautiful card for you, Leo. Here, I'll give you another look at it. I really like the way that this depicts the kind of energy that the Nine of Pentacles has. Because what this is it's about making something timeless, something beautiful, something enduring. Things that all kind of naturally gravitate to Leonine energy. Leo is the performer of the zodiac, and again, with the Nine of Pentacles, you have the pianist here. So again, this is about letting the real you shine through, Leo, in wherever it is that you're headed, the thing that you're doing or building or making or whatever that it is, that is helping you break out of these old norms and old habits. Will be something enduring and beautiful, but you have to let your true self shine through in order for it to have those qualities and tendencies. Next up is Virgo, and we have the Sun. And I always love to see cards from the aspect show up in the draws, because it means that someone is going to be more powerfully affected by what's going on than others. Of course, by someone, I mean the particular subset of sun signs. And Virgo, you have the light of the sun here to guide you. Lots of very powerful positive energy is behind you as you make these changes. Which I think is to the good, as a sun sign that has a predilection for liking things to be a particular way, and your particular way. This seems to be a time where the energies lend themselves to letting you make things the way you want them to be. Again, that does involve work, but at least at this juncture, it looks like it'll be easier work than usual. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. I only need one card. For Libra, we have the High Priestess. Actually, let's get this a little bit closer. There we go. And what I like about the High Priestess is that it's kind of like the juxtaposition between two things. If you look very closely at her, you see both white and black feathers. And now the High Priestess is between two things, not because she can't decide between one or the other, but because she has mastered both. And this is kind of like the archetype of what a Libran should aspire to, is rather than identifying with one side of the scale or the other too much, you are the pillar that holds both. Or you should aspire to be the pillar that holds both. And specifically with this card, the feeling I'm getting is that it's something that's already internal to you. It's a quality that you already possess that you're going to need to lean on in order to develop and expand. Because the High Priestess it brings forth mastery of what is internal as well. So in a time that's already been super emotional for everybody because the sun was conjunct a retrograde Mercury in Cancer, now that you've got through all that emotional stuff, you can sort of bring the fruits of that out in order to, again, buck old habits, break old routines, defy old norms. Now we have Scorpio with the Ace of Wands. And I love this card for you, Scorpio. I've read in a couple places that if there was a water sign that could also be a fire sign, it would be Scorpio. And the fact that the Ace of Wands, which is a very fiery card, is here, I don't think is a coincidence as far as that's concerned. But what you're getting from it, Scorpio, is sort of the spark that lights your way. There's a new passion, a new drive, a new energy, a new desire to do something that is animating you, and it's this new thing that is, if you lean into it, going to cause you to pursue other new things. It's, for you, this is less about breaking out of the traces and more about turning onto a completely different road. But this is a good thing. You know, it's growth only occurs outside the comfort zone, and that's where this idea that you're having, this passion that you're having, this new energy is coming from. And rather than running from it, you should run toward it. The theme of participating is coming through quite strongly in these cards today. Next we have Sagittarius, and for Sagittarius we have Justice. And, you know, all the things that justice entails: peace, balance, fairness, equity. Specifically, what I'm picking up on this for you, Sagittarius, is that we're kind of righting the ship here. Like, for you, it would not be inaccurate to say that the Wheel of Fortune reverse does represent a run of some really bad luck. But the corollary to that, too, then, is that the Devil represents choices made as a result of that bad luck that did more to aggravate than alleviate it. But the fact remains that the impetus for all of this is the Jupiter retrograde. So now we begin to see you sort of you're not coming out the other side of it, obviously. Jupiter is going to be retrograde for quite a while longer yet. But more that the worst of its effects on you are over, if you want them to be. Again, something is kind of springing back into balance. Something that has gone too far in one direction is starting to swing back the other way. And now the two things to this are that it will do it on its own, but it will do it faster and better if you kind of give it a little help. So where there's things that have been unfair or unequal, now is the time to work on making them more equal. It is this that will break you out of the rut and the run of bad luck. For Capricorn, we have the Three of Cups. I like the Three of Cups. The Three of Cups is the card of sort of it's celebratory, not in the same way that the Four of Wands is. The Four of Wands usually would denote some big life marker, like a wedding or what have you. This is more about just, you know, a gathering of close friends. Just it's getting together to share in the bonds of friendship and to celebrate the bonds of friendship, which is at once both it's less and more profound at the same time. But what I like about it for you, Capricorn, is that it indicates that an awareness that there are some things that you cannot do alone. That, you know, no person is an island. There's always a network around you. There are always people to help and support you, and it indicates to me not only a willingness on your part to ask for the help that you need, but a willingness on the part of the people you ask to give it to you. In a very real sense, now that you've, you know, with you being part of this reading, you know, Jupiter being in your sign, they say that like you only really know who your friends are when you're at rock bottom as opposed to on top of the mountain. Um, that's not to say that you're necessarily at rock bottom, Capricorns, but now that you know who your real friends are, it's you feel a little more comfortable asking for the help that you need, and as part and parcel of that, you also find that the people you're willing to ask are willing to help you. Now, all of this hinges on the needing to ask. Don't assume that people can read your mind. For Aquarius, we have the Hierophant. And this, to me, this is humorously incongruous. Because one of the things that the Hierophant is all about is routine, structure, the norm, uh, tradition, the status quo, things that not shouldn't change, but just don't change very much. And being the iconoclast that you are, ruled by Uranus, this is some interesting energy for you to be dealing with, because in order for you to break out of the rut you're in, you have to embrace, again, traditions, norms, standards, doing things the way they have always been done because they've always been done that way. Which again, like there's something about it that's just really incongruous to me, where the thing that would naturally bring you success is the thing to be avoiding. But then again, that may be, and this is just something I'm picking up on as I look at the card, that you're so desperate to try the new thing, or you desire so much to try the new thing, that you are ignoring tried and true methods that might serve you better. You may want to focus on those, at least for a little while. For Pisces, we have the Nine of Swords. I always feel like I draw rough cards for you, Pisces, and I'm really sorry about that. But, the Nine of Swords, in a more standard, like the Rider-Waite, this would be like the Nightmares card, right? The sobbing person with the wall of... And again, just like an ominous vortex and all these crows, and it's... So I'm beating around the bush. It looks bad. It looks bad. The Nine of Swords is a card that always... To see it in a reading is one of those, oh boy, here we go kind of moments. But... The sensation I get from this Pisces actually is that it is more of an omen than an actual, It's an omen and not a herald, if that makes sense. Like, it's not... This isn't saying bad things are about to happen, batten down the hatches. But after all, as I said at the outset of this, the energy of the aspect itself is overwhelmingly positive. What I am seeing from this, though, is that given that you're ruled by Neptune, who is also currently in your sign... you are a little more in touch with the subconscious, the unconscious, the intuitive, and so things like nightmares, dreams, and omens are a little more potent for you. And what you're getting out of the Nine of Swords here, it seems to me, is just a really clear sense of what not to do. Which, on the one hand, is unfortunate because having to have, getting bad omens, getting weird vibes, having nightmares on a regular basis is rough. But it also is serving as the signpost of which directions not to go so that you know which ones you should pursue. Try to interpret them in that light as you pursue breaking out of whatever box you feel stuck in. They are the signs that say the edge of the cliff is coming, so you know not to go that way and fall over. For Aries, we have the Two of Pentacles. Balance. The Two of Pentacles is a card of balance. And if, like me, fellow Aries sons, there are things that you have been tempted to discard, dispose of, or otherwise cast aside, maybe just throwing them up into the air to see where they land is probably the more, the way that one would juggle is probably the more appropriate thing to do at this juncture. Just because you don't want to lean too much on our tendency to be impulsive and brash and, well, if this isn't working, let's just get rid of it. It may be that it's just not working for right now. You can even go the other direction with Arian energy if you like and be like, okay, here is a shelf, and all of the things that feel stuck for right now I'm going to put on this shelf. That way I can focus on these things, which are moving and working, and then it'll just be a matter of rotating things in and out as energy and come to or leave them. But it's about balancing all the things you've got and keeping in motion the ones that are moving, versus totally wholesale throwing away everything that does not. You don't want to toss the baby out with the bathwater. For Taurus, we have the Page of Swords. And with this card, this feels to me more like it describes the rut that you feel stuck in, Taurus, which is having a whole lot of intellectual energy and no place to direct it. Which on the one hand can be a really peaceful thing, because it means that you're not, I have all this energy, I gotta do something with it, and then wasting it on things that don't deserve it. Instead, you've sort of been holding it in reserve, and whether you've been doing that by choice or because chance hasn't afforded you anything to throw it at is really kind of irrelevant. What does matter, and the thing that kind of makes this relevant for me, is that it feels like all of a sudden a whole bunch of things are coming your direction that are going to require this intellectual energy that you've been building up while you haven't been using it. And it's going to kind of throw you into analysis paralysis a little bit. But I would trust the sword in this instance, in a kind of a metaphorical sense, because the sword isn't just intellect; it has all the powers of the mind. Intuition creeps in here a little bit too. More properly, intuition belongs to cups and then wands before swords. That there is an element of intuition to the sword suit. It's intuition in tandem with intellect, and the idea here is that you're smart enough to see all of your options. Let your instincts guide you to the ones that are right. A well-wielded sword is an extension of its wielder's arm. At that point, it's just another limb, and you use those on instinct. Finally, we have Gemini. And for Gemini, we have the Queen of Pentacles. And with the Queen of Pentacles, Gemini, what we have here is again another of these notions of like stepping into one's power, stepping into the place where one, has authority and strength and I especially it's Pentacles, so I especially get this feeling that it has to do with a material concern. So the workplace, maybe finances more generally, your home. But this is a notion of coming into power after a period in which attempts to step into that power have been kind of forestalled. Like if you want to tie it to Mercury retrograde and the whole notion of contracts, maybe if you're a Gemini sun who's been looking to purchase a house over the last couple of weeks and it just hasn't been going right, there are all kinds of walls between you and getting the inspection done or actually getting the paperwork signed, but it's things of that nature. You have been making the moves to sort of step into mastery of some physical thing. You know, waiting on a promotion, waiting on a raise, waiting on, closing on a house. And this is the beginning of your stepping into that. And as slow as it feels like this process has been, you come out the other side of it going, whoa, it sped up really quick all of a sudden. What happened? It's not faster than you can handle, Gemini. You are an air sign. But it is faster than the preceding part of it has led you to believe. So hang on tight, but enjoy the ride. And that is Tarot Tuesday for this week. I hope that you guys enjoyed it and that it was helpful to you. If it was, like, share, comment, let me know. Don't forget to subscribe. Real quick before I go, I do want to remind you that if you're on Patreon, you would have seen this video last night. But you can find me there, same as you find me here, 6 Silver Seals. Highly encourage you to check it out. There's lots of really cool things you get for becoming a patron. And in the meantime, I will see you next week. Be kind to yourselves and one another.